isn't it? So bear with me, I'll probably say good morning several times. And when we get into the afternoon, I'll say good afternoon several times. It's an African thing. So, talking about greeting, I'd like to just request that you stand up and just greet somebody you didn't come with, somebody you don't know, and just say hello. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to now draw your attention to the screen as we just take a look at the safety briefing. Please feel free to sit back and relax.
Welcome to the CSIR International Convention Center. In the unlikely event of an emergency, an alarm will sound throughout the building. Trained responders will give instructions on evacuation. Stay calm. Take only belongings you can carry. Emergency procedure. Walk in an orderly manner. Do not run. Responders will lead you to an emergency exit, then to the assembly point. Please do not return to the building until it has been declared safe to do so. Emergency evacuation plans are available in all venues. General information. Restrooms are available throughout the building. Please look out for signage. There are designated smoking areas outside the building. Please look out for signage. As this is a public building, please do not leave your valuables unattended. For lost property, please contact our reception desk for assistance. Plug points are located around the venue. Please look out for them. Wi-Fi information. Free wireless internet access is available throughout the building. Select Free CSIR ICC on your device. No password is required. For assistance, please call on any of our staff members who will contact a technician to provide support.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Earlier on, I talked about how in Africa we're so used to greeting each other. I took time to go around. Hopefully, I went to as many countries as possible just to find out how we greet in the various languages. So I will greet you. Please respond in your language. From Malawi, Mulibwanji. Let's give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. From Zimbabwe, I had the opportunity of meeting two people, Sabot Nani, Mangwa Nani. Oh, there we go. Please give him a hand. And then as I walked around, I found somebody from Argentina, and for them it was so easy because they say, you know what, just say hola. Let's give him a hand. From Mozambique, Mbondia. From Lesotho, Dumela. I also met somebody who said, look, I'm from South Africa, but if you like, you can just simply say salam alaikum. And somebody who'sIndi said, just say namaste. I didn't hear that, but she waved from the back, so let's give her a hand. Botswana, Dumela. And, well, the last but not the least. Ladies and gentlemen, this one I have to breathe in and breathe out. It took quite some time to learn, but I got it anyway. In Finnish, huomenta kaikki. I deserve a hand. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nawalia Vlahakis. I'm a journalist, a national broadcaster. I hail from a beautiful country called Zambia, and I'm your director of ceremony today. It's okay to give me a hand as well. I'd like to welcome you to the NEPID SANBio annual event. The 2019 annual event is under the theme Beyond the Valleys, Untold Tales of Biopreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, this year marks the end of the BioFisa 2 program. We are going beyond the valleys as we reflect on the past and look forward to the future. Allow me now to recognize some delegates. I recognize the presence of Mr. Dan Dutoit, DDG, International Relations Department of Science and Technology. It is my honor and privilege to welcome from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland, His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Kari Alanko. From the SADC Secretariat, I recognize Ms. Annelien Morgan, the Senior Technical Advisor. Allow me to recognize from the AUDA NEPID, Dr. Tichaona Mangwende, who is the Principal Program Officer. I'd like to also recognize Dr. Eric Chakaoya, the SANBio Network Manager, Ms. V. Tangawamira, BioFisa 2 Program Manager, Dr. Boitumelo Semete Makokotlela, Executive Manager, Next General Health Cluster, CSIR. It is my honor and privilege to recognize our host, the CSIR CEO, Dr. Tulani Dlamini. I note also, ladies and gentlemen, that we have representatives of different government departments from the SADC region and beyond. Welcome. We recognize your presence. May I recognize the deans and vice chancellors of different universities in the region. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the common African way of recognizing our delegates at the end is to just simply say, all protocol observed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to just quickly go through our program. Very shortly, we will hear from Mr. Dan Dutoit, who is the DDG International Relations Department of Science and Technology. He will be giving us his opening remarks. But before that, allow me to just give a brief of what is expected for the day. We will have in this session, which is session 1, if you look at your program, remarks from His Excellency Mr. Kari Alanko. We'll also have remarks from a representative from SADC. That will be then followed by remarks by NEPID, and the SANBio representative, Dr. Eric Chikaoya, will give us a background of where we're coming from, how the last 5 years have been on this project. That will then be followed by a group photo, and later on I will be able to guide you as we go on with the program. We have already been notified that we have free Wi-Fi. Trust me, I love free things, and I have no choice now but to just quickly go online and go onto my Twitter and just tweet as much as possible. And with that said, our Twitter hashtag is NEPID SANBio 2019, hashtag Beyond the Valleys. I will say that again, hashtag NEPID SANBio 2019, hashtag Beyond the Valleys. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, allow me now to call upon Mr. Dan Dutoit, DDG, International Relations Department of Science and Technology, South Africa, to give us his welcome remarks. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Good morning, Ambassador Alanko, Dr. Dlamini, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great privilege for me to welcome you to this very important event on behalf of the Department of Science and Technology. And my very first task is to bring you the good wishes and support of my Minister Mamaloko Kubayin Ngubane, who, as you will know probably if you've been following the South African political calendar, is in Cape Town in anticipation of the first meeting of our new parliament tomorrow. But the Minister very closely follows developments within the science system and the work of the department. And we have briefed her on the work of SANBio, and she strongly wants to commit to you our support for this very important initiative. So in my opening remarks, this will be a short reflection. I just want to highlight 3 key reasons why it is so important for the Department of Science and Technology to support SANBio, and why we've done so consistently over many, many years. First of all, what SANBio seeks to achieve, and that is to harness science and technology for growth and development, for the advancement of our economies, for improving the quality of lives of our citizens. That very much captures the essence of what the Department of Science and Technology is all about. I know we have in the audience here representatives from across our Southern African region and from further afield. But for the South Africans in the audience, you will know that currently there's lots of speculation, lots of debate on how the new South African administration will be configured. All will be revealed in a few days' time. But whatever happens, whatever ministries are called, one thing that will be for certain, which can be absolutely guaranteed, is that our government will remain committed to investment in science, technology and innovation, because that's absolutely crucial. It's absolutely crucial for the transformation of our society and our economy, and indeed our region. And just before the elections, our recent elections, at the very last cabinet, our cabinet adopted a new white paper. A white paper is the highest level of policy documents you can have in our government, which firmly spelled out the new vision for science, technology and innovation in South Africa. And it is very much aligned with the trajectory SANBio is undertaking, and that is going beyond the valleys. That is about translating science into new products and services, closer partnerships with industry, and growing this new class of entrepreneurs, which we will believe will be at the heart of the South African but also Southern African knowledge economy. I mean, later today I'm sure Dr. Dlamini will reflect with you on the very important and strategic reorientation CSIR is undertaking within that context. So science, technology for growth and development, what SANBio is seeking to achieve, is completely aligned with our vision. Secondly, it's all about, of course, regional integration, regional partnership, and just as for our foreign policy, South Africa's foreign policy priority is the African agenda. The same applies to us in the Department of Science and Technology. Our most important strategic priority for international cooperation is intra-African collaboration. Like all countries across the world, South Africa needs international cooperation. Science and technology advances when one shares experience, when one shares expertise, when you join pool resources, and SANBio's role in achieving that within our region, within our Southern African region, we believe is absolutely critical for helping us to create this vibrant innovation ecosystem in Southern Africa, which will be so essential for our region's growth. That is why the department over many years has been committed to support science and technology development in the Southern African region. My colleague, Ms. Annelien Morgan, who will speak after me, you will know for many years she was seconded by our department to the SADC Secretariat in Gaborone, where she did absolutely pioneering, sterling work to help us build the Southern African innovation ecosystem. And I want to use this opportunity, because she recently returned to the department, to, amongst this audience, pay tribute to Annelien and the work she's done over many years. Not only the commitment to SADC, commitment to the work of the African Union, commitment to the work of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. We have Mr. Conde here from the UNECA Secretariat, and indeed NEPAD. Of course, NEPAD is now in its own transformation to be an economic program of the African Union, but the department has for many years consistently invested in supporting the NEPAD science and technology flagships. In addition to SANBio, there's the network of water centers of excellence, there's the African Laser Center, also hosted here at the CSIR, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, and we do that because, yes, we are committed to the African agenda. We firmly believe in Agenda 2063, but it's also, let's be very frank, in South Africa's own interests. It's not a completely an altruistic endeavor, because we know that for South African innovation to prosper, we need to be part of a broader, vibrant regional innovation ecosystem. And I think we perhaps have not celebrated enough what SANBio has achieved to enable through real projects, real meaningful regional collaboration. So we certainly remain committed to continue to support the program. And then lastly, why this event is so important, but also the partnership, it also enables us to leverage and build broader international partnerships. And here I specifically want to reflect on the partnership with Finland. South African science and technology now over many, many years has had the privilege to benefit from cooperation and partnership with Finland. Before there was BioFISA, we had a program called CoFISA, a cooperation framework for innovation systems, learning, and indeed many of the innovation policy programs we're implementing today in South Africa was inspired and informed by our partnership with Finland. We also hosted here at the CSIR over many years, had a specific focus on ICT research and innovation. We of course know that Finland is a global center of excellence for ICT R&D, and it was almost only logical that building on that solid foundation, now many, many years ago, the BioFISA initiative was conceptualized, and we were very grateful that the Finnish government reciprocated the interests and our wish, which we've expressed to them at a time, to partner with South Africa, because South Africa has been co-investing in BioFISA in supporting a regional initiative. And I have having the privilege of participating in many international forums, have often referred to BioFISA as best practice example of the type of trilateral cooperation between partners in the north, partners in the south, within a regional context, to harness science and technology for development. We also know, and I'm sure you will be aware, that Finland is also supporting the SIAS, the Southern African Innovation System Program, which again is almost at a cutting edge of what we believe the new vision for development cooperation should be. I was recently a Brussels ambassador, and the EU spoke to me about plans for supporting innovation in sub-Saharan Africa, and I told them we should go to Finland. They're already doing what you're only thinking of. So I would like to thank you and your government, not only for the support to BioFISA, but for the long-standing friendship and partnership. Yes, we are coming to an end of this cycle, of this program, but I am very optimistic about the exciting prospects which lies ahead for us as we seek to further develop our bilateral collaboration with Finland, and indeed within the bigger regional focus. So with those few words, I wanted colleagues to welcome you again on behalf of the department here to this important event. Assure you about our strong support, but also to encourage all of you to let's put the next two days to good use as we seek to build upon the solid foundation which is there, so that SANBio can continue to prosper and really be the flagship for regional science partnerships we want it to be. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Now, one thing I did not do is greet you from Zambia, where I come from. Mulibwanji. Oh, there you go. Malawi got it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attention. And I must indicate that we are live. We're streaming live on YouTube. So please feel free to share the word and let everybody from around the world be a part of us today. Mr. du Toit had indicated the partnership that has existed between Finland and SADC, and it is very impressive to know that Finland has supported the development of the NEPID SANBio, also a top country in the availability of scientists and engineers. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to hear from our next speaker, and this is His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Kari Alanko. Let's give him a hand.
Deputy Director General of the Department of Science and Technology, Mr. Dan du Toit, Principal Program Officer of NEPAD, Dr. Tichaona Mangwende, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It gives me great pleasure to open the final BioFISA annual event. The annual event has become a tradition in the past 4 years and has attracted increasing interest over the years. It is also a pleasure to be here with our partners, the Department of Science and Technology of South Africa, with whom we have been supporting the BioVisa program for 8 years. It has been a great partnership, which we very much appreciate. BioVisa program was set up as a Finnish Southern African partnership to strengthen the NEPAT SANBio network. Particularly, the BioVisa program has supported health and nutrition areas in biosciences in the Southern Africa region. As a representative of my country in South Africa, I feel we have had much to give to the program. We are the first in Global Good Country Index, which measures level of national commitment to global issues. Finland, relative to the size of its economy, contributes more to humanity and the planet than any other country. For decades, Finland has invested hundreds of millions of euros per year in health-related education, research and research infrastructure. This has created cutting-edge Finnish research and treatment in such specialist areas as cancer, brain disease, cardiovascular disease, and genetics. Finland is also one of the first countries in the world to set up a national digital patient data repository covering both the public and private healthcare sectors. Instead of forming an obstacle, Finland's isolated gene pool is one of the reasons Finland has become a global leader in digital health. Finnish people's genetic composition permits a unique research setting in light of these facts. A 30-year history of sample collection exists. 100% of patient records are available in digital form, and biobank data is combinable with patient records at national healthcare registries. All this is backed up by universal healthcare, homogeneous care guidelines, and legislation providing access to health data. Finns also have a positive attitude about medical research and trust medical professionals, and willingness to take part in medical research is generally high among the public. Finland is one of the world's best ecosystems for health research and development. According to the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report 2016-17, Finland is number one in availability of scientists and engineers. It has the latest technology and excellent collaboration between universities and industries in research and development. It's no wonder Finland ranks among the 3 strongest health technology economies in the world, while digital health is its largest high-tech export. Finnish health tech solutions are not only developed but also largely manufactured in Finland. Food produced in Finland is clean, and you can certainly taste it too. The excellent quality of our food is based on the well-being of animals, high-quality standards, and modern agricultural technology that supports both of these. In recent years, there has been some very interesting food-related innovations which have come out to the market. For example, the Gold and Green company's pulled oats have taken the market with a storm. Pulled oats is 100% vegetable product consisting of oats, faba beans and yellow peas. Its nutritional protein value is more than in beef and chicken. Another recent interesting Finnish food innovation is Valio's Oatligurt, which consists of milk protein and oats. The company received an award last year in Paris for their lactose-free butter, which is considered the Rolls-Royce of butter by the French bakeries. A curiosity of the Finnish dairy industry is also to know that all milk produced in Finland is free of antibiotics, not very common elsewhere in the world. To conclude, I'd like to note that it has taken a lot of work and commitment and cooperation for Finland to be producing world-class technological innovations in biosciences. We are at a point in time when Finland has firmly set the course for a low-carbon and resource-efficient society and a sustainable circular economy. a key role in reaching this goal is played by bioeconomy. Everything that is made out of oil today can be made out of wood tomorrow. This includes biochemicals, bioplastics, pharmaceuticals, and food additives. I wish you all a very good SANBio annual event 2019. Thank you all for your attention.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the spotlight is on SADC, and in this regard, allow me now to call upon Ms. Annelien Morgan, the Senior Technical Advisor from the SADC Secretariat.
Thank you, Program Director. Morning, everybody. At the time when this program went to print, the preparation started way before it was my time. It come to an end at the SADC Secretariat in March, end of March of this year, 2019. So I am the former Science and Technology representative of SADC, but I am very happy to share some of the journey and experiences that we've had with SANBio, but continue to make sure they grow within the region. So with those few words, I'd like to say thank you to the Program Director, acknowledge the following dignitaries, Dr. Thulani Dlamini, the CEO of CSR, Dan du Toit, DDG of Department of Science and Technology, Ambassador of the Finnish Embassy, Dr. Mangwende of NEPAD, Eric from the Program Coordinator for SANBio, and the Program Coordinator for Biofisas, and greetings to all who are here. I think for me, SANBio has played a critical role in championing research, development, and innovation in the area of biosciences. And through this, they've done it through strengthening institutional capacities in the region, and have ensured they facilitate R&D networks in the region to strengthen collaboration. And we've seen this in the strategic projects that are currently being implemented amongst member states. And I think for me, that's a great achievement and milestone. We also acknowledge the strategic partnerships that we've had with the Finnish government. We have supported this network since its inception. Also the partnerships with other strategic partners and the contributions from member states. I can remember as far back as 2003, between 2003 and 2005, when NEPAD had the vision through the former Consolidated Plan of Action of setting up these 5 networks in the continent, which they saw as centers of excellence, so a network of centers of excellence across the continent. We are proud to say that out of the 5 networks set up in the continent as far back as the period of 2003, the Southern African network has been the most successful and has been growing by strength by strength each year. And if you look at the other networks, none of them are operation as we speak. It's only the Southern African network. And I think we need to give ourselves a round of applause. We are seeing the partnerships growing from the partnership we've enjoyed with the Finnish since the inception of SANBio. We have a new kid on the block, or partnership, in the form of HIVOS. And we're excited that this strategic partnership has been forged with HIVOS in continuing to support the network. The network has a key role to play in supporting the regional agenda of SADC. And we've seen this in the form of supporting the current mandate that SADC is championing, the mandate of industrial development and competitiveness, socio-economic development to facilitate regional integration. We are already seeing traction in this regard, where before I left the SADC Secretariat, we made sure that SANBio champions the mapping of the aquaculture regional value chain. And as we speak, the aquaculture node, led by Professor Kaunda, is involved in this big consortium that won a contract from the SADC Secretariat to map the aquaculture value chain. And I think we need to give them a round of applause. In championing this industrial development agenda, we have, member states have identified key priority areas in the area of agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, mining, and capital goods. In April, we concluded the mapping study on the agro-processing value chain, and the report is available. I've shared it with Eric, and it can be disseminated to this conference for everybody. It has been validated by member states, so we do have now the SADC agro-processing value chain mapping study, where we've identified key strategic value chains to be invested in, where member states need to champion together with the private sector. Currently, they are concluding the pharmaceutical value chain for the region. The mining vision for SADC was also concluded in April, and these reports are there to help member states to start facilitating support in setting up key value chains with private sector in supporting industrial development. So the SANBio annual event has been a premium event in providing a platform to the region to converge and to discuss key policy issues and priorities. So we'd like to wish you all well for a successful conference, and we hope that we continue to play this key role. I'd also like to acknowledge the role that member states have played in investing in this network. Member states have contributed a lot in the development of the network, but also the sustainability of the network in positioning their own national institutions in participating in implementing the business plan of SANBio. I thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the annual events are always synonymous with networking as well as pitching for our entrepreneurs. And with that said, I would like to announce that we will have a pitching session. The venue is Emerald Auditorium. This will start at 10 hours and will go on to 11 hours. This is a mandatory pitch training and introduction for all participants. So that is something to look forward to. With that said, allow me now to take you to our next item on the program. We will have remarks from a representative of NEPAD. NEPAD is the development arm of the African Union. And of course, we would love to hear from them. What has this partnership meant? What has worked in the past 5 years? With that said, allow me to call upon Dr. Tichaona Mangwende, the Principal Program Officer, AUDA NEPAD. A big hand, please.
Good morning. It looks like the response seems to be saying we could be elsewhere. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's better, and it's wonderful. Let me start off by acknowledging all the African Union member states who are represented here today, and the government of South Africa, represented by DST, the Deputy Director General, the government of Finland, represented by His Excellency the Ambassador, SADC, the SANBio, and the CSIR, represented by the CEO. I have to repeat that I am very happy to be here. I am currently heading the Research and Statistics Unit at the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD. The reason why I am happy to be here is because I was here again sometime in 2012, where I think I managed to offend a lot of people. I was one of those angles who ended up saying the wrong things at a funeral, the wrong things at a wedding. But these are things that I had to say. So today, I think I may also do that, one way or the other. But let me start off by what my parents taught me. 4 things. It's 4 things that I remember most of the time. But I was taught more than 4 things in my life. The first one was to always greet people. That's the first. The second, to be thankful. Be thankful. Even if you are annoyed, be thankful. The third one, if it adds up to nothing, say nothing about it. The fourth one, if it adds up to something, say something about it. I joined SANBio in 2009. And we were learning how to do things. I was part of BioFISA 1. And I have to be thankful for the support that we received from the government of Finland and the government of South Africa and the SADC member states who contributed to BioFISA 1. We made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. I cannot even count them. Too numerous to count. But we also had quite a sizable number of achievements, which led to BioFISA 2. And all this, we were anchored in a support system that was provided by CSIR, the Biosciences Unit. If it were not for that, I think you would have been floating everywhere. And I have to remember to be thankful for the support, both technical and operational, that we were given to implement BioFISA 1. And then BioFISA 2 came along. The support was even more. And I have to say to CSIR, the CEO of CSIR, who is here today, thank you so much for supporting an African institution and African efforts. Thank you. Now, I had a conversation with the Dr. Eric Chakauya. I asked Dr. Eric Chakauya an unusual question because I don't normally ask such questions. I said to him, what do you want me to say? It's not that I didn't have something to say. I actually have lots of things to say in my life, and when I start talking, sometimes I won't stop. But I had to ask him, what do you want me to say? And he was hesitant, right? Because he didn't know what he didn't want me to say, right? So Dr. Chakauya told me all the things that he wanted me to say. And from those things, I have not picked any of them because those are the things that I don't want to say. I wanted to find out from him what in fact I should say. So he gave me a list of what he wanted me to say. So I ignored everything so that I can say something that may be of interest to us going forward. SANBio, when we started, we focused so much on research and development. And I can see colleagues who are here. Professor Kaunda is here. We focused on projects that were mostly on R&D. And I remember saying something that was very offensive in Malawi, and I think Dr. Robert Ridley is here. He was in that meeting, if he remembers me very well. Sometimes it's good to be forgotten. I said to the vice chancellors who were there, just borrowing something from somebody, I said, where I come from, we don't eat research publications. We eat food. And imagine the reaction. I got instant feedback, which is something that is also great when you say things like this. So SANBio is focused on R&D and innovation. Right. We have heard these terms a lot of times. But what do they really mean? What they mean has not yet been socialized, to the extent that when it's said, we who walk the streets would understand what it means. In most cases, we don't. They sound so complicated. But what I would want to say today to SANBio going forward, try as much as is possible to strengthen your identity. Who are you? We know that you are an entity that operates within the structure of CSIR. But who are you? We need clarity on that going forward. The identity of SANBio has to be defined such that we all understand what SANBio is. What type of relationships do you have with most African governments, with most African institutions? The second thing is, after you would have helped us to say, this is who we are also interested in understanding the value that you deliver, the value that you create, how that value links with the value that is created by other institutions. What is unique with the value that you create? Why should we always call on SANBio? Or should we stop? Right. In that vein, I would want to encourage all those in SANBio to probably read, this is a wonderful book, The Value of Everything. That was written by Professor Mariana Makato from the University College of London. He's a professor of economics, working on the economics of innovation. Working on the economics of innovation, what is particular in this book is how she looks at innovation in the public and private sector. Sometimes we are made to believe that governments create nothing, create no value. To the extent that the other time when I talked at SANBio, I said we want to promote innovation in the public sector. And I think my colleagues in the Biofisa program unit corrected that statement and said I was saying we want to promote innovation in the private sector. When I discussed with them, they said, no, we were actually correcting you because we think innovation takes place in the private sector. I was not contesting that view. I was saying we should also focus on innovation in the public sector. There is a lot of investment that takes place in the public sector, although it's a non-market entity. The other issue that I would want SANBio to focus on is to look at the capability system. How does SANBio deliver the value that they promise to the member states who are here today? Do they deliver it alone? Who are the people that they deliver this value with? What systems are in place? Should we really look closely and say the systems that we have may not be adequate for us to deliver the value that we promise? And lastly, there is always a difference between business and business. Being busy and doing business. These are two different things. If we hear the sound, right, the sound of hammering, what comes to mind? Two things come to mind. It's either you are constructing something or you are pulling down something. So let our business not just be the sound of hammering. That remains ambiguous to the people who are supposed to get the benefits from the work that SANBio does. So this is coming at a time when SANBio is also reviewing its business plan. We really need an expression that clarifies SANBio identity, that clarifies the value that SANBio delivers, that clarifies the capability systems to say, how do we deliver this value and the products that we deliver. This is my message to SANBio and all the partners who have been standing with us all along. I am saying to the government of Finland, goodbye should not always be forever. Let all of us be around in future efforts, and to the South African government that has supported most of the NEPAD programs. And I do not want to forget to state the point that the African Union Development Agency is hosted by the South African government. Apart from all the support in terms of programs, our home is South Africa, and we thank the South African government for that. So looking forward, I'm looking forward to a brighter future for SANBio. When I first joined SANBio, the light was flickering. The light was flickering. And one way or the other, we managed to fuel the light. So to Dr. Shakawi, I would want to say the flame is getting bigger, but we want to see more of the same so that we start to enjoy the warmth that SANBio will deliver to all of us in SADC and the whole of the African region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mangwende, for those remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to call upon the CEO of CSIR, Dr. Thulani Dlamini. I must also indicate that, ladies and gentlemen, we will have the pitching training after tea break. It is my honor and privilege to call upon you, sir. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you very much, Program Director. You caught me by surprise because I thought I was coming a little bit later in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you to the CSIR. I'd also like to acknowledge and express our sincere word of gratitude to our partners on the SANBio and BioFISA program, the Department of Science and Technology represented by Mr. Dan du Toit, the Government of Finland represented by His Excellency Mr. Alanko, the SADC Secretariat represented by Ms. Annelien Morgan, AU NEPAD represented by Dr. Mangwende, as well as recognize the contributions of the Ministry of Science in Angola and the delegates present here today, the Ministry of Science in Mozambique, as well as the 13 SADC member states who have been partners with us in the SANBio program. Welcome to all of you and thank you for your commitment and support of this particular program. I think the SANBio program is perhaps an excellent example of what Africa can achieve if we pool our resources together. If we can replicate this model in other sectors, in other fields of scientific endeavor, I have no doubt that we will be able to move the African continent in leaps and bounds. And I would like again to request you to give, I think, yourselves a round of applause for what you have achieved through this particular initiative. I was given very strict instructions by the CSR team, in particular Dr. Dumi Makokotlela, to use the next 20 minutes to give you an overview of the CSIR, and I'm going to do exactly that. Just share with you who we are and where we are going as an organization. So this is the outline of what I'm going to say. Thank you. So this is the outline of my presentation. I'll talk to these particular points. So the first point I want to talk about is what we refer to as the CSIR mandate. This defines who we are and what we do as an organization. The CSIR was established in 1945. I think we will be turning 75 years next year. So we're a fairly old organization. And at the establishment of the CSIR, an act of parliament was passed by the South African government, which established this organization. And in that act of parliament, there is a section which defines what our organization is about. That's what we refer to as the CSR mandate. It's a fairly broad mandate, and you can read through it, but there are very specific statements in this mandate which try to capture the essence of what we are about. The first one is that the CSIR performs directed research and technological innovation. It says that the work that we do as a CSIR must be directed by the needs of government, the needs of industry, the needs of society. I think similar to what I've seen in terms of what the SANBio and the BioFISA programs are doing. Trying to solve a societal issue, trying to develop technologies that translates into impact. I think Dr. Magwende spoke about this. What is the value of what we are doing? Of course, that value can come if the things that we are doing, that we do, are relevant to the environment that we are trying to influence through our research, development, and innovation. So our work has to be directed. In a way, also, this differentiates the CSIR from academic institutions within South Africa. So we cannot pursue an area of scientific endeavor just for academic reasons. We cannot pursue an area of research and development just out of interest. It has to be informed by the impact that we wish to make in society, in government, or in industry. Then the mandate goes further to say that the work that we do must foster scientific and industrial development. Or you can interpret that as saying the scientific development that we undertake in the CSIR must drive or inform industrial development, and vice versa also, of course. It must also inform the development of a capable state. It must enable our government to deliver services to our people. It must address the societal issues that our government is trying to address through the work that we do. And that ultimately, the CSR must contribute towards improving the quality of lives of the people of South Africa, which is a huge responsibility that we have. So that's the mirror that we need to look at in terms of the work that we are doing, in terms of the impact that we make. And how do we do that? contributing towards improving the quality of lives of the people of South Africa can have many shades to it. We look at things such as the extent to which we're able to, as I said earlier, to enable government to do that what it needs to do. We're able to make our industries more competitive. We're able to contribute towards job creation within South Africa. But also there are other things that we do, such as the development of human capital, which is very important. We do that and we invest in that, but that's not the primary goal of the establishment of the CSIR. We've translated this into a vision and a mission. Our vision is that we are accelerators of socio-economic prosperity in South Africa through leading innovation. So it's a social and economic contribution that we make. And how we achieve this? By collaboratively innovating and localizing technologies whilst providing knowledge solutions for the inclusive and sustainable advancement of industry and society. So we realize a few things in this mission. Firstly, that we will not be able to innovate around all the problems that we are trying to solve ourselves. We need to look at opportunities to bring in innovations from other parts of the world and localize them, adapt them for the specific challenges that we are trying to address within South Africa. Sometimes, I think as scientists and engineers, we get caught into this paradigm of sometimes reinventing the wheel. We don't have to do that. We can build on what other people have done in the rest of the world to advance our own agenda. But also we realize that the contribution that we make as a CSIR is not only through technology, but also that we provide knowledge solutions in terms of thought leadership, in terms of evidence-based policy development to government. So that's the knowledge contribution that we provide in terms of our impact. And that ultimately, of course, issues of sustainability are absolutely critical in terms of the contribution that we make. These are the underlying values that guide the behaviors within the organization, excellence being one of them. Excellence in everything that we do. That we are passionate about excellence, we are people-centered, we conduct our work with integrity, and lastly, that we design for collaboration. I think SANBio and biofuels are perhaps a good example of that. That everything that we do, we need to look for opportunities to leverage our human capability, but also the infrastructure and the financial resources that we invest in terms of our programs. In terms of our numbers, we employ today about 2,300 employees in the organization. About 1,600 of those are in what we refer to as the science, engineering, and technology base. So those are the scientists, the engineers, and technologists who conduct the various research that we conduct, that we undertake within the organization. We have 1,600 Black South Africans. I think that's it for the total staff establishment, and 794 females in terms of our set base. These are issues that we monitor very closely. Issues of transformation, both in terms of race and gender, are important to us. And we monitor that and ensure that we are aligned and we support the government intention to bring about transformation. If we look at the composition of our set base, we have about 20% of the set base with PhDs. It's a figure that we also look at very closely. We intend to grow this to 30%. And the rest, of course, have qualifications at different levels. We also monitor some outputs from journal articles in terms of publications. And Dr. Magwenda can guarantee you we don't eat these journals. But of course, they are an indicator of the work that we do. We also produce patents. In the previous year, we had 19 patents that we filed. I think one issue that we find is challenging for us is our ability to monetize these patents, to convert them into income streams for the organization, which again speaks to issues of the relevance of our patent portfolio to what the market requires. We also develop what we refer to here as technology demonstrators, which are technologies that are at an advanced level of development. We use technology readiness level model to assess that. Our income in the previous year was about 2.5 billion rands. Of this, we only receive 30% as a grant from the state. The rest we raise through contract research that we conduct for the public and the private sector. So we have to operate as a business to be able to do that. We also receive a little bit of royalty income, about 5.4 million rands per annum, as well as we invest significantly in various programs, ourselves and jointly with our partners that are focusing on human capital development. I think currently we have about 1,000 colleagues who are part of our human capital development programs, from bursaries to studentships that we have within the CSR to internships and so on and so forth. And we work with various partners in terms of funding our human capital development initiatives. If I now move on to our strategy, we went through a process recently of defining ourselves in a manner which ensures that we can respond fully to our mandate, which, as I said earlier, is about scientific and industrial development. We came to a realization through our own analysis that perhaps over the years, we had not paid enough attention to the role that we are expected to play in terms of advancing industry, in terms of advancing industrial development within South Africa, but also within the continent. I think Mr. Dan du Toit spoke about this. Ms. Morgan also spoke about this quite extensively in terms of ensuring that the work that we do contributes towards industrial development. And through that exercise, we then identified the key sectors where the work that we do can have the most impact in terms of bringing about transformative change within those sectors, bringing about an increase in terms of competitiveness for those sectors, and also bring about growth in terms of GDP growth, in terms of exports, but also in terms of job creation. And the 9 sectors that we've identified for ourselves, which inform the work that we do within the organization, are in chemicals, in mining, and in manufacturing, looking at the future of production. Then we have health, we have logistics, defense and security, smart places, which includes aspects of the built environment, the natural environment, and including issues of sustainability and energy. Next generation enterprises and institutions, which looks at issues of the digital migration that we are seeing in terms of government and business and how we can enable that, as well as last but not least, advanced agriculture and food. And we look at the role that, for instance, technologies that are relevant for the future, which, as you know, is informed primarily by the fourth industrial revolution, can bring about a significant change in terms of the development and advancement of these sectors. These are the pillars that inform our strategy going forward as an organization, that inform also our operating model going forward as an organization. We're in the first year of the implementation of the strategy, and we see this as the strategy that would ensure that we can effectively deliver on our mandate as a CSIR. If I look at the pillar of advanced agriculture and food and perhaps share some of the work that we have started to do, because we are building on what we've done in the past. The strategy that we've put forward for the organization is a growth strategy. It says, whilst doing the good things that we've done up to now, where are the opportunities for us to have a bigger impact in terms of industrial development within the country, whilst also ensuring that we can continue to support the creation of a capable state. I think the intent of our advanced agriculture and food cluster is to effect technology and business model innovation to strengthen the agro-processing and natural agro-production sectors. What we've done here in the past, we've invested significantly in terms of the infrastructure, of course ourselves and our partners, in particular the Department of Science and Technology. I think over the recent period, we've invested over 120 million rands in terms of infrastructure that we make available to the sector to support industrial development. We have supported over 31 enterprises through the infrastructure and the capabilities that we have within the CSR to do this. And the colleagues who are directly involved with this work, some of them are present here today, and they can share a lot more with regards to this. We've also used this capability to develop human capital. So we train interns, and we've had 86 of them trained through this program. And some of them have been placed in industry, or they've gone on to study further in terms of advancing, I think, their career prospects and opportunities. This program has also contributed towards job creation in terms of permanent jobs created, 183, as well as temporary jobs that were created, 203. 88 products have been transferred to enterprises, and over 200 applications have been received from small and medium enterprises to be part of this program. So the impact is quite visible in terms of what we are doing with regards to this sector. But of course, going forward, we want to look at how can we bring about technology to bring about a step change in terms of this particular sector. We collaborate across the continent, but also across the globe in terms of the work that we do. I mean, if I look at our collaborations within the SADC region, in Angola, for instance, we're working on disaster fire monitoring technologies. We have a technology called an Advanced Fire Information Management System that we have licensed to various parts of the world, and we're collaborating with colleagues in Angola in terms of its utilization within that part of the continent. We work with colleagues in Zambia around issues of HIV, as well as foot and mouth disease. In Botswana, around issues of indigenous food products, looking at nutrition, as well as in the area of ICT, looking at issues of spectrum management. And in Tanzania, we work with colleagues around the transport sector, looking at pavement materials, pavement technologies, but also technologies we've developed, which we've licensed in other parts of the world, around a simulation of road degradation in an accelerated manner. I mean, as I said, we do work in different parts of the world, in Asia, in Australia, in the Middle East. We work in the areas of defense in particular, in North as well as in South America. I think our work finds a global footprint, which in a way perhaps is a reflection of the excellence that exists within our organization, that we are able to develop technologies that are world-class, that we can license to other parts of the world, and that we are also able to use to collaborate with partners from the rest of the world. Now, if I can move on then to two examples I'm going to talk about. The colleagues have prepared these examples for me, so I hope I can reflect them correctly in terms of what we are doing in SADC. The first one is work that we are doing around foot and mouth disease. In South Africa had an epidemic of an outbreak of FMD early this year. In fact, I think our status as an FMD-free zone was suspended because of that. So it's an issue that we need to deal with, I think, on the African continent. I think when we speak to the colleagues who are very well versed in this, I think they've mentioned to us that FMD is perhaps one of the major stumbling blocks in terms of the African continent being able to trade in meat products within the continent, but of course, with the rest of the world. That it's a huge economic potential that we have not been able to tap into, primarily because of FMD. I'm sure there are other issues as well. So there's a huge economic impact in terms of the outbreaks associated with FMD. It also impacts issues of food security on the continent. Now, countries need to invest in FMD detection to address issues of surveillance, outbreaks, monitor vaccine efficiency, as well as to meet export requirements, as well as to understand the movement of livestock. Now, the current methods that are used for the detection of FMD are inefficient in the sense that they are not reliable. They only detect the presence of FMD without specifying which type of virus it is, for instance. And they are also lengthy in their time issues in terms of the sampling and the availability of data to allow one to intervene. So there is a gap that needs to be bridged in terms of our ability to efficiently detect and, of course, then deal with the issues associated with foot and mouth disease. The CSIR, working with our partners, we've developed a solution which enables us to do point-of-care detection, which allows us to detect FMD in a much more specific manner in terms of the type of virus that it is, but also in real time. So which enables one to perform the detection in the field And of course, it accelerates our ability to then respond and address the particular issue. The technology is based on sampling as well as next generation sequencing. And it will be able to then use geographical data and genome level information which can be specifically designed for this particular type of FMD virus that one is trying to deal with. So it enables one to then move from a situation where you have the current process, which is, as I said, it's time consuming. You need to have a lot of infrastructure to be able to do this in terms of laboratories and so on and so forth, to a device which is portable and that you can take directly into the field. My colleague, I can see Dr. Libea is sitting over there. We've now created a company. They've created a company. The CSR has licensed the technology to called TacoBio, which is now looking at the commercialization of this particular technology. Of course, our expectation is that this will bring about a step change in terms of our ability to respond to outbreaks of FMD within the continent. The team was led by Dr. Libea, who is part of the startup company, but also we collaborated with partners in Zambia as well as in Mozambique in terms of the development, but also the field trials that we had to undertake as part of the assessment of the technology. We also brought in partners in terms of Thermo Fisher, who could provide the scientific equipment that we can then use for the analysis, as well as the OIE in terms of standards, which is part of the World Animal Health Organization. So it's a multidisciplinary team that has worked together in terms of developing the solution that is specific for the African continent in terms of trying to address this particular issue of FMD. Again, a very good example of how we take science from the lab into a product that can be directly applied to solve a very African and a very specific problem that we need to deal with. The second example is in the area of food security. Because food security has two elements to it. It's the quality and the quantity of food that you need to have. So you could have the quantity, but if the food is not nutritious enough, you still have a problem in terms of food security. So this is work that was undertaken by our team based on the realization that the nutritious status of food that is consumed in the African continent remains low to a large extent. And that there was a need to develop an instant nutritious drink which will provide key nutrients from indigenous but neglected crops and locally grown vegetables. And that the product was formulated for optimum taste to address micronutrient deficiencies in poor areas, patients, as well as children. So people who have lower levels in terms of immunity and health status, which is particularly the elderly, people who are sick, as well as young people. So the team then has come up with a solution, which is referred to as the Nutri Drink, which was produced at commercial scale, certified for safety, using plants indigenous to South Africa. We've done market tests with the product across various market segments, and we've also done a lot of promotion of the product to get it accepted in different sectors of the society. Again, this project was not done by the CSR alone. It was done in partnership with the National Food Technology Research Center of Botswana, as well as other local partners that we've worked with in terms of the development of the product. I think to conclude my remarks, I think the first statement that one wants to make is that the CSR remains committed to the various programs that we are involved with on the African continent. I think our involvement is not only limited to our contribution with regard to technology development, but also we contribute in terms of providing thought leadership. I mean, examples are the work that our team is doing in terms of supporting the development of the AU Health Research Innovation Strategy for Africa, as well as supporting the development of the East African Community Bioeconomy Strategy. So our contribution goes beyond just technology development, but also we are open and willing to share the expertise and the knowledge that we have with our partners from the rest of the continent. Thank you very much.
You know, the great thing about being a director of ceremony is that it doesn't matter how many times people have clapped. You can simply ask them to clap. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the CEO. The 7th UN Secretary General once said, and I quote, "To live is to choose, but to choose well, you must know who you are and what you stand for, where you want to go, and why you want to get there." That is the late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Now, these words remind me of exactly what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen. We're reflecting on who we are. By the different speeches that we've had, that has been defined. We are reflecting on where we're going. And I know that we cannot reflect on where we're going without looking at our past. And talking about our past, to help us reflect on the SANBio work in the past 5 years is none other than Dr. Eric Chakawuya, who is the SANBio Network Manager. Let's give him a hand.
Good morning. Thank you. I can sense energy. Thank you very much, Program Director. I want to recognize our partners, MFA, represented by the Ambassador, AUDA, who is the chair of the BioFISA program, and also the DST was supported us. And I want to recognize also my bosses when I'm in different countries. So when I'm in Angola, I have the representatives that are sitting here. So I report to them. I also saw Mozambique here. And I also recognize the colleagues. So I just thought I tried to find a picture that represents what we're trying to do. So I picked the one which is with some of our partners in Zambia. So the We Create part is their name, but I thought it also meant a lot. So my presentation is going to be in 2 parts. So I'll take part of it. It will be like overall, and then my colleague G is going to come in to look at some of the specifics. I hope I can have technology to work here. Am I pressing the wrong thing? Okay, good. All right, thanks. So I thought we would also need to reflect on where we are coming from. And one of the things is, from what Dr. Mangwende was saying, you need also to look at who you are in terms of the identity. So SANBio, we are known as SANBio, so we decided let's call it NEPAD SANBio, because there is also another SANBio, which is not a NEPAD one. So we thought maybe let's get a first name and surname, like everyone has. So we're covering 12+1 countries, because the decision that was the reason for forming SANBio. I want to highlight that it was to share state-of-the-art infrastructure. That's very important, because we have pockets of infrastructure excellence, especially for key things like rapid experimentation and prototyping, and then pooling resources. We have very small projects happening in different countries, but the impact is negligible. So can we pool resources? And in terms of the timeline, I also wanted to highlight that the formation of SANBio and its friends was a ministerial decision. So we are part of a bigger thing that the continent wanted to look at in how do you support science and technology programs. So starting from 2003 in Maputo, and then also in here in Joburg, where they looked at what are kind of the areas that you needed to focus on. They came up with 12, and then they added up the 13th one, which was the African Biosciences Initiatives. But I wanted to highlight that as part of this, there was already a thinking that we need a network approach to doing this. Because the continent is so big, now we are 55 countries. How do you champion science in that context? And we have different regional economic communities and all that. So they came up with networks, which were 4 of them, plus the 5th one, which was a Pan-African. And I also wanted to look at the wisdom, to highlight the wisdom from the ministers on what we should concentrate on. Biotechnology and biodiversity, safe development, so stewardship is very important, and then of course indigenous knowledge. Being an indigenous person myself, this is one of the areas that we have not done very well. Because sometimes we like what we don't have, but guess what? We will develop from what we have. So we might like whatever, but if you don't have it, you'll be just chasing the shadows. So this is one area that by just looking at what we have, in fact, I think that's why God gave us, each one of us, a head. There's something that I have based on where I come from that I can use to create wealth, to do better. So we have some of the networks that I think Annalyn has already mentioned, but I was quite flattered that SANBio is one of the leading ones because it's the only one that still has the network part. We still have Baker, but it's now Hub. So we are quite happy that we are still there and we are growing strong. The ministers of responsible for science and technology at SADC level endorsed our business plan in 2014, and this is what we have been working on. So like I mentioned, we are just one of the big network which was implementing hub and spokes model. So the hub would be an institution that is got, it's like a hub, the spokes on a wheel. So you need to have an anchor institution and supporting institution in the network, and that's quite important. So we respond to different frameworks. And I'm putting this because sometimes we forget that we mention everything else except our own frameworks. So at the continental level, we have frameworks that we are responding to. At SADC level, we have frameworks that we are responding to. At national level, we also have national development plans that kind of highlights what we are supposed to do. And some of them are very simple, like zero hunger, good health and well-being. That includes also our mental well-being, right? And we need that more often. So I'll just skip through some of these slides. So what is the context that we are existing? So our economies are very heterogeneous, and our economies are becoming increasingly informal. So the concept of trying to understand just the formal economy will not work. And trust me, I'm coming from, I know a number of countries that are doing that have that problem. So most of us are studying the formal economy, but meanwhile there's so many of us that are living in the informal economy. So that's the context. So some of the things, in as much as innovation, sometimes we think it's high-tech. It just means something that people can use, that's affordable. Then the other context is, for some reason, there are areas that we have not focused on. Indigenous knowledge systems is one of them. And of course, we are endowed with a lot of natural resources that we have not used. We have a lot of funding, external funding. I'm just highlighting. So we need to invest more in our own things. We should make our own toys. Then there's definitely limited budget from private sector. But the cross-cutting nature of innovation has not been realized in our context. So these are some of the things that we've tried to address. Then when it comes to even the ecosystem itself, we have what I call the professional crisis. We have a lot of projects that are not producing anything. Or we have publications that don't have projects. So you have so the knowledge is there, but it's not anchored on something. You can't do anything with it. Then, of course, I wanted to highlight just for the good of the professors here, the taxi professors. In most countries, some countries have 60 universities. And we are hopping around teaching everywhere. There's no time for research. In fact, most of us teach 95% of the time. There's no time for research. Then this slide, with the permission from Dr. Mangwende, some of the work that we've been doing on ASTI. Where are the researchers in the different sectors? This is a very important point. Most of the researchers are actually sitting in either in government or higher education. And this is quite important because if you look at, you can pick any of your countries, except maybe the one that has got a dominant green is South Africa, which has got a bit more researchers in the private sector. So what does that mean? What it means is if we want to develop, to move on, we need to work with what we have. We have researchers in higher education. They have to produce products. They have to work with industry. So our vision is basically looking at improving livelihoods. And I put this picture, I took it in Zambia. We had a project there. It's about real people, not the imaginary person that we think about. When you talk of real people, you mean my mother at home, not the folks that are just in the street like all of us putting on suits, looking smart. The average person still needs to benefit from science. So this is some of the partnerships that we have managed to create in the region and and it goes beyond the continent. And you can also see some of the institutions that we have tried to work with. This is one of the things that we, as a network, I think we have managed to achieve, because we don't do R&D. We are a platform for collaboration. So we need, as a network manager, and I always emphasize this, my job is to make sure I let people talk to each other. If they are not talking like what we are doing now, then I'm not doing much. And being a son of the soil, I have to also put something about the soil. If the relationships don't work, you will not plow. I apologize for those that don't go to the village. I come from there. So once you have, in my language, you call this kubirida. We are regional, right? So I can use any language, it's fine. That's Shona. So if you have two of the strongest beasts, once the other one is facing the wrong direction, you are in trouble. So what is SANBio trying to do? It's just trying to make sure we aligned our researchers, the public sector, NGOs, and all the different actors in the ecosystem to just pull in one direction. I'm almost done. I'll skip some of the slides. We have trained, we called it train for the knowledge economy. It's not just training, because we are aspiring to have an innovation-led, knowledge-based economy. So the knowledge has to be linked to the economy. It's not. We also, good science needs to produce publications. Well, might not eat them, but we need to generate, good science produces information that other people can use. Why would you generate knowledge that just sits in your drawer? It has to go out there. But good science also produces products. I always say we need to create wealth for our own good. Especially in higher education, I've always said, if I wish I could be a very rich professor teaching because I like to teach, and I'm very rich because of the knowledge and IP that I generated, and that will be, for me, the best thing. Gender mainstreaming, we've looked at how do you support the youth. We call it the demographic dividend. And Zee is going to come in to talk about this. It's not just about college students. It's also about the young people that needs to be inspired, the ones that want to be Dr. Chakawia. That's what we're talking about. We've also looked at how do we support policy, because it's one thing to be very smart and sitting there, but not being part of the decision making. So we have worked very closely with all the RECs, with the SADC, thanks to Annalyn. We go to the ministers' science meetings, ministers of health meetings, we go through with the support also from the AU, we go to the special technical committees and make inputs. And this is what SANBio should be, so that when the decisions are made, the view or the voice of the scientist is also represented. And most importantly, we create networks. And this is what we are supposed to do. So this is my last slide. I'm also thanking the different partners that have been involved, but I also want to thank the scientists that have given confidence to be harassed by us. I can tell you from my team, sometimes when you need, if it's you're having a baby, you have to be really serious. I think the housewives have to be really serious, and also the hospital staff have to be really serious. Otherwise, you won't have the baby. So I want to thank the scientists also. We've talked about the partners, but the scientists have been the biggest actor, because without that knowledge, which is between these 2 years, we would not be talking, having a lot to talk about. And of course, the funders and also the different stakeholders. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chakawia, for giving us a reflection of where we're coming from. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will have our last speaker for this session very shortly. And as I introduce her, I would like to just look back at last year when she came to Zambia, where she was officiating the 2017 FemBioBase Women Entrepreneurship Competition. And out of that competition, we had one of the winners who's right in front here, Muzelema. Muzelema will be among the different biopreneurs that will be speaking tomorrow. We will hear of their stories and their testimonies, a reflection of the fact that our work has succeeded in many areas. But I was really amazed about her passion as she spoke of, her passion when she spoke about women entrepreneurship. And I said to myself, wow, I would like to meet her again and just talk about the women agenda. Well, lo and behold, we are here and she's right in front of me. So trust me, there's a lot of talking after this. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to now welcome our last speaker for this session. And that is Ms. Zri Tangawamira, who's the BioFISA 2 Program Manager. Let's welcome her.
Wow. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to first of all recognize the presence of the ambassador, the DDG from the DST, the CEO of the CSIR, Dr. Simete, Annalyn, and all the distinguished guests from Angola, Mozambique, and the 13 SADC member states. My role here is very simple. I'm supposed to condense 4 years of work into less than 15 minutes. And I would like to present to you what we've done and what we've learned. Most of the work that we've done, we've condensed it into 3 booklets, which you've been presented with. It's 3 volumes that you can then look at a later stage. I think the background for the BioFISA program has already been given, and I will start right into where we started in 2015. Through the support of the Finnish government, the South African government, and the different member states, The BioFISA 2 program was launched in August, and it was to support the SANBio network in 3 key result areas. The first one is networking. And for that, we had a lot of study tours to different countries, like to the US, to understand the way they do their medical research and the commercialization of different medical devices. We also had different study tours to Finland to understand their startup ecosystems. We also had another result area that we needed to look at, which is capacity building. And for that, we had 3 tiers. One was to capacitate the region in terms of technical and entrepreneurship skills. The other was to ensure that there is gender mainstreaming. So we had to work and support women also in technical and entrepreneurship skills, as well as the youth. The third area where most of the funding went to was the support of commercialization of the research that is being done in the different institutions across the region. And I must say that we received over 300 applications from the region, and from that we managed to select 14 projects. Those are the projects that were in our portfolio. So from these 3 key areas, we managed, we had a target based on the SANBio business plan for 2015, from 2013 to 2018, and our target was very clear. It was to make sure that we at least get 2 products to the end user, and make sure that we have at least 50% female participation. And we implemented this program in 4 years. In those 4 years, funding from the DST and from the Finnish government was about 80 million that we managed to spend. And the region contributed 14 million. 9 million was towards the projects, and the 5 million was in support of the female bio-entrepreneurs. And this is what we have all achieved. The first is an R&D. We have 7 products that have reached the end user. The product that is shown now is actually being used in one of the SADC countries to support police work in that country. And we were told that it was already used to support a particular case, a murder and rape case in that country, and it exonerated an innocent man. So that's impact. We also supported the establishment of 6 startup companies. They're all in their infants, so still struggling. The journey is long, but at least we can see the culture has changed. We're moving from research for research's sake to companies that can later become industries. In terms of capacity building, over 1,000 individuals were trained in technical and entrepreneurship skills. 63% of this was actually entrepreneurship skills, and the rest was between biotech, agro, and also cosmeceuticals. And we managed to create a network of 30 student ambassadors. And you will see some of them, I think they're wearing the SANBio t-shirts today. They are all coming from different countries. They are all doing wonderful work. Some of them have received their PhDs, but they are all connected to support biosciences in the region and to enable other young people to come on board. In terms of capacity building, we managed to reach our targets, and we trained over 60 of the 1,000 people that we trained, over 65% of those were female. And then we also supported networking. And because of the support of the network, we managed to get the network from about 500 stakeholders to over 3,000. And some of the institutions that Dr. Chakawia has mentioned are involved in different initiatives in the different programs that SANBio is running. So those, in a nutshell, are our achievement. But what does it actually all mean? In terms of the R&D, we're already starting to see some impact. So for instance, the projects that were supported, they managed to train 20 students, and students graduated from the support that was provided. 26 collaboration between private sector and public sector. Some of these projects had different kind of models of implementation. Some were led by private sector, some were actually led by universities. But in all these projects, we wanted them to have a commercial partner that can support in terms of taking the products to market. So 26 collaborations were established. And we also note that at the end of the projects, 10 million rand was raised for some of these projects to continue post the BioFISA program. And this support is coming from different governments and institutions. Today, we can speak of at least 500,000 in terms of revenues from these projects that have been implemented over an 18 to 24 month period. It's not a lot of money as yet, but they are only starting to make sales. And in terms of job creation, we have at least 50 direct and indirect jobs that have been created. Our other result area, which focused on human capacity development, enabled us to work with different partners from the different countries. And in 8 countries, we must acknowledge that we have managed to create an ecosystem that can support female bio-entrepreneurs through the SANBio program. We ran 2 seasons of this program, the first in 2017, the second was last year, and we managed to support over 250 women in 10 SADC member states. And based on this support, in this year, this program is also continuing, this time with the support of the HIVOS Foundation. So we are very thankful for this support. And I note in the audience that we also have different banks that were involved, for instance, in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, in the SANBio program. And in total, they managed to raise over 5 million rand to support this initiative last year. And I'm sure there will be more this year. And in terms of the output from the women themselves, we hear that there's new products that have been developed. And some of the ladies will be sharing their stories, like Muzalema, her journey throughout the SANBio competition, the different things that she has won to date, and where she is selling her products next. I hear she will be exporting even to Venezuela on the product that she's working on. We cannot do much without thinking of the youth, because the youth is our future. And in terms of the network that I mentioned, we have a number of student ambassadors, and I just wanted to acknowledge and highlight them to date so that you are aware of these different students. In all but Angola, unfortunately, all these 13 countries, we have a student ambassador. And some of them, like I mentioned, are here. So these are the student ambassadors. Some of them are a team, like in Zimbabwe, and also in Botswana, there's a team that has been formed, and they are working to support the ecosystem. In Botswana, for instance, they started a biotech association that is supporting government initiatives in the country. So we really would like the different members in the audience to also work with the student ambassadors, because they are geared up to support the network even further. And then some of the other work that we did, we managed to support the SANBio network to establish an expert database. It was modeled after the NRF database. on equipment, though this one really focuses on experts so that people can go on the platform, meet each other, collaborate, and work together. This is available for whoever wants to put their profile on, because there are other experts in the region working in the same area that you can engage on on this platform. Then some key lessons. I had to condense our many lessons into 3 key areas. And some of these lessons will also be shared during the discussion panels that will be held in these 2 days. So I will not get into the lessons that are specific to the projects, but in terms of the program level lessons, we understood, I think, from this program that collaboration is key. I mentioned from the onset that by the support provided from Finland and the South African government and the collaboration from the region, we were able to achieve as much as we managed to achieve. And this can only happen when people work together. And more importantly, within the projects that we supported, a multidisciplinary approach was taken, where, for instance, private sector came on board and worked with different research institutions, and public sector, or NGOs, worked with private sector. And this enabled good collaboration to take products to the end user. So I think there's a key point and a key lesson in that when we work together, we are able to achieve more. And this really is the crux of the SANBio network. And the element of training. We managed to train people while they were applying for the grants from us. And that aspect was appreciated by the researchers and by the people that received this training, because they said when they received this training, they were able to think differently. Instead of thinking of research for the sake of publication, they could now think of research for a product that can actually reach the end user. So this aspect we also found to be crucial, and hopefully SANBio will continue with training initiatives going forward. And of course, an ecosystem approach. This was very essential. I think especially when we look at the FemBioBiz program success, that we could not do it on our own. We had over 26 partners in this, 8 of who were key as the country coordinators. Some of them are sitting in the audience today. But even the country coordinators had to work with different players in the different countries to create an ecosystem that supports the female bio-entrepreneurs. We found that, for instance, within the capacity building initiative that we did, we took a different approach from that which we use for the FemBioBiz program. And we managed to reach our numbers. We managed to reach over 1,000 people in terms of training. But we also wanted to impact the institutions. And unfortunately, because we did not look at it from an ecosystem perspective, we were not able to attain that goal. So we encourage that the programs that go forward also look at an ecosystem approach while they are implementing. Just wanted to show a few pictures from the different training initiatives that we had of the project participants, some of whom are sitting in the audience. We were at Farm In, and we were training them on the business model canvas. These are professors like Professor Kaunda and different researchers who had to think of their projects and their product as a business from the onset. And because of the way they thought of this from the beginning, they were able to achieve the results that they achieved. And I also wanted to share with you a video, a teaser, from the FemBioBiz competition. We will be launching this video this month. It's a 9-part video series from the 8 countries that we worked in for the FemBioBiz competition. And this video will be available on different national broadcasting stations. So this is the video that we developed.
Biz Acceleration Program is back for Season 2 as the search for innovative African solutions continues.
Ladies and gentlemen, these videos will be available on YouTube at the end of this month and also on some of the TV broadcasting channels. At this point, I would really like to thank each and every one of you for your contribution to the BioFISA program. We were able to support projects that are in precision medicine, food, in different diagnostics, for FMD also, and for bovine brucellosis, and you will be hearing the different stories and the journeys of the different project participants during this coming days. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I think most importantly, let's give a round of applause to the CSIR, for it was the implementing agent for this program. And from the rest of our team, I really appreciate all the support. It's been a privilege that we were able to support the region in the way that we did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sri. And while she was doing her presentation, I just got a call from We Create Zambia, and they said, the lady that is speaking, make sure you go back to Zambia with her. But I was just saying, I'm not so sure how that will work with Dr. Dlamini, but we'll try. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to join us for a photo session outside at the staircase. Our student ambassadors will be able to lead you and to guide you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you so much for your time. Please, let's head to the staircase. Obviously led by Dr. Dlamini and Your Excellency, and then the rest of us will follow. It's okay to clap for me as well.